Alien gladiators mocked the human fighter until they saw his unstoppable fury. The arena had never been this full. Every seat was taken. Aliens stood in the aisles, packed against the walls hanging from the upper levels. 200,000 beings from across the galaxy, all here to see one thing: the death of a human who dared too much. Taeyang stood in the center of the red sand and looked up at them all. The noise was incredible, a wall of sound that pushed against his body, but he did not hear it anymore. His mind was quiet, focused, ready. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. "Citizens of the Empire, today we witness history. A human, this small creature who claims to be a warrior, has challenged our greatest champion, Krull the Unbroken, the Destroyer, the Draxian Death." The crowd roared. The noise doubled, tripled. Across the arena, the champion's door opened. Krull walked out slowly, taking his time. He was massive, even bigger than the footage had shown. 3 meters of muscle and armored scale, colored deep red and black like dried blood. His movements were smooth, controlled, perfect. This was not a fighter. This was a machine built for killing. But what made Taeyang's blood run cold was the intelligence in Krull's eyes. The other fighters had been strong, fast, skilled. But they had been animals in the end, driven by instinct and arrogance. Krull was different. Krull was thinking, planning, analyzing. "You are the human," Krull said. His voice was deep and calm. He spoke perfect common tongue without the usual Draxian accent. "I watched your fights. You are clever. You use patience and observation. You exploit patterns and mistakes." "Yes, I do not make mistakes." Krull rolled his shoulders, loosening his muscles. "I have fought for 15 years. 347 victories. I have killed fighters from every species. Some were stronger than you. Some were faster. All of them died. You will too. Maybe. Definitely." Krull picked up his weapon, a massive blade that glowed with energy. "But I will make it quick. You earned that much. You are a better fighter than the others expected. That deserves respect even if you are human." The announcer's voice came again. "Let the Grand Festival's final match begin." Krull attacked. There was no showboating, no war dance, no wasted movement. Just pure professional violence. The blade came at Taeyang's head in a strike that would have killed him instantly. Taeyang moved, but barely. Krull was fast, faster than anyone he had fought before. The blade missed his head by a finger's width. The second strike came immediately. Then the third. No pause between them. No rhythm to exploit. Krull attacked like water flowing. Each strike connected to the next in an endless chain. Taeyang defended desperately. Block. Dodge. Step back. Block again. His arms screamed with the impact of blade meeting blade. Krull's strength was unbelievable. Each blocked strike nearly knocked the weapon from Taeyang's hands. 30 seconds passed. Taeyang had not attacked once. He was barely surviving. The crowd sensed it. The noise changed from excitement to certainty. This would be over soon. Krull pressed harder. A strike to the ribs that Taeyang barely dodged. A leg sweep that nearly took him down. A head strike that grazed his cheek and drew blood. First blood to the champion, 1 minute. Taeyang's breathing was ragged. His arms hurt. His legs hurt. Everything hurt. And Krull looked like he had just started warming up. "You are good," Krull said, not even breathing hard. But good is not enough. He attacked again with a combination that Taeyang had seen in Minho's recordings. High-low spin thrust. But knowing it was coming did not help when Krull was too fast to avoid. Taeyang took a hit to his side. His armor cracked. Ribs cracked too. He stumbled back, gasping. The crowd roared. This was it. The end, but Taeyang did not fall. He caught himself, straightened up, and raised his blade again. 2 minutes. Krull came at him again. And again. Each exchange pushed Taeyang closer to death. But he did not die. He adapted. Every strike he survived taught him something. Krull's patterns were more complex than the others, but they were still patterns. The blind spot Minho mentioned was real. The favored leg was real. They were tiny advantages, but they were there. 3 minutes. Taeyang started to move differently. Not just defending now. Starting to read Krull's combinations before they came. Still not attacking, but surviving more easily. The crowd's certainty wavered slightly. 4 minutes. Krull's breathing was heavier now. Not tired yet, but no longer fresh. His strikes were still powerful, still fast, but Taeyang was finding the spaces between them. 5 minutes. Taeyang drank Hana's potion between exchanges, when Krull pulled back for half a second. The liquid burned going down. Then the world changed, everything slowed. Not really, but Taeyang's mind sped up so much it felt like slow motion. He could see Krull's muscles tensing before each strike, could read the micro-expressions on his scaled face, could predict 3 moves ahead instead of 1. The crowd gasped. The human was moving differently now, faster, smoother, like he had been holding back before. Krull noticed too. His eyes narrowed. He increased his speed, his power, his complexity. But now Taeyang was not just surviving. He was starting to counterattack. A quick slash across Krull's arm. The champion's blood stained the sand. The crowd went silent 6 minutes. Taeyang pressed forward. Every weakness Minho had found, he exploited. The blind spot meant strikes from the left worked better. The favored leg meant low attacks from the right were harder to defend. The head position meant overhead feints created openings. Krull was not used to being pressured. For 15 years, he had been the one pressing. Now he was defending and he did not like it. 7 minutes. Both fighters were bleeding now. Both breathing hard. The match had become a real fight, not an execution. The crowd did not know how to react. Some screamed for Krull. Some impossibly screamed for the human. 8 minutes. Krull changed tactics. He stopped trying to overpower Taeyang and started fighting smarter. Defensive, patient, waiting for mistakes. It was the right choice. The smart choice. But Taeyang knew he only had 2 minutes left before Hana's potion wore off. He could not wait. Could not be patient. He had to take risks. He attacked with everything he had. Wild strikes mixed with calculated ones, making Krull guess, making him react instead of plan. It was dangerous. One mistake would kill him 9 minutes. Krull caught him with a strike to the leg. Taeyang felt something tear. His knee buckled. He almost went down. The crowd screamed. This was it. The end. But Taeyang used his fall. Rolled under Krull's follow-up strike. Came up inside the champion's guard, closer than anyone had ever dared to get, and drove his blade up through the weak point where Krull's jaw met his neck. The arena went silent. Completely silent. 200,000 aliens holding their breath. Krull stood frozen, the blade through his throat. His eyes were wide with shock, with disbelief, with the understanding that for the first time in 15 years he had lost. Impossible, he whispered. Then he fell. The silence lasted 3 heartbeats. Then chaos. The crowd erupted. Some screaming in rage, some in joy, some just screaming because they did not know what else to do. The impossible had happened. A human had defeated the Draxian champion. Taeyang stood over Krull's body, breathing hard, bleeding from a dozen wounds. The potion was wearing off. He could feel it. His body was starting to shut down. But he had to stay standing, had to stay strong. This was not over yet. The arena master appeared in his VIP box, his face twisted with fury. But tradition was tradition. Honor codes were honor codes. He could not break them, not in front of 200,000 witnesses. His voice came over the speakers, shaking with barely controlled rage. The human wins. By right of victory, he may claim his reward. Taeyang's voice was quiet, but the speakers carried it across the arena. I claim the freedom of all human prisoners in this complex. All 73 of them, as per our agreement. Agreed. The word came out like poison. Guards brought Hana, Yuna, Minho, and 70 others onto the arena floor. They stood in the red sand, blinking in the sunlight, unable to believe what was happening. Taeyang looked at them all. His people. His responsibility. His reason for fighting. We are going home, he said. The crowd was still in chaos as they left. Some aliens threw food and garbage at them. Others just stared in shock. But some, a few, a tiny fraction of the billions who had watched, looked at the humans differently now. Vector escorted them to a transport ship personally. The big Draxian guard said nothing until they were ready to leave. My daughter asked me another question today, he said quietly. She asked if humans were actually the weak ones, or if we had just been telling ourselves that to feel better. I told her she should decide for herself. He looked at Taeyang. Thank you for giving her something to think about. The transport lifted off from Vex Prime. Taeyang sat with Hana on one side and Yuna on the other. Around them, 70 other humans who had been slaves yesterday and were free today. They were all silent, processing what had happened. What happens now? Hana asked. Now the galaxy learns something new. Taeyang replied. For centuries they have thought humans were weak jokes' prey. Today we proved them wrong. Tomorrow other humans will prove them wrong again. And the day after that, and the day after that. You think one fight will change everything?
No, but it is a start. Taeyang looked out at the stars.
The arena wanted entertainment. They wanted to watch us die and laugh. The alarm bells rang across New Haven for the third time that week. Dr. Hana ran through the crowded hallways of the medical center, her white coat stained with blood and sweat. Another patient had stopped breathing. Another family would lose someone they loved. She burst through the doors of the intensive care unit and found nurses already working on the young man. His eyes were open but empty. The silence had taken him during the night, shutting down his brain piece by piece until nothing remained. Hana checked the monitors and shook her head. There was nothing more they could do. Time of death 0347 hours, she said quietly. Outside the window, the twin suns of Talon 7 were rising over the small colony. 3,000 people called this place home. They had come here 5 years ago, hoping to build a new life on the frontier. For a while, everything had been perfect. The soil was rich. The air was clean. The future looked bright. Then the silence came. Nobody knew where it started. One day, people began getting sick. They would feel tired, then confused. Then they would slip into a coma. Most never woke up. Those who did were never the same. The disease attacked the nervous system, eating away at the brain until there was nothing left but an empty shell. Hana walked to her office and collapsed into her chair. The walls were covered with medical charts and research notes. She had been working for 3 months straight, barely sleeping, trying to find a cure. Nothing worked. The disease was unlike anything in the medical databases. It seemed to change and adapt to every treatment they tried. Her brother Jinho knocked on the door and entered without waiting. He was younger than her by 5 years, a brilliant engineer who had come to the colony to help build its infrastructure. Now he spent his days trying to keep the power running and the life support systems operational. We have maybe 3 weeks, he said, sitting down heavily. The main reactor is failing. I've patched it 12 times, but it's breaking down faster than I can fix it. Did you send another message to the Galactic Union? Hana asked. Jinho nodded. Same answer. They say the quarantine is for everyone's safety. They can't risk sending ships here until we prove the silence isn't contagious. But we can't prove anything without proper lab equipment, which they won't send because of the quarantine. Hana laughed bitterly. It was a perfect trap. The Galactic Union had classified New Haven as a failed colony. Humans were still new to the galactic community, still trying to prove they belonged among the older, more established species. When human colonies failed, nobody seemed to care very much. Yuna is still trying to contact passing ships, Jinho said. Maybe someone will listen, but Hana doubted it. Yuna had been broadcasting distress signals for weeks. Several ships had responded, but as soon as they learned about the quarantine and the disease, they always left. Nobody wanted to risk their crew or their cargo for a colony full of dying humans. Down in the colony's communication center, Yuna sat at her station, broadcasting the same message over and over. She had been a representative for New Haven, traveling to other colonies and stations to negotiate trade deals. Now she was their last hope. This is New Haven Colony on Talon 7. We need medical assistance. We have 3,000 citizens, including 800 children. Please respond. The words felt hollow now. She had said them so many times that they had lost all meaning. But she kept saying them anyway because what else could she do? Her screen blinked. An incoming signal. Yuna's heart jumped. She quickly opened the channel. New Haven, this is the trading vessel Brightpath. We received your distress call. What is your situation? Yuna almost cried with relief. Brightpath, thank you for responding. We have a medical emergency. A disease has infected 40% of our population. We need medicine, doctors, anything you can provide. There was a long pause. What kind of disease? We call it the silence. It attacks the nervous system. We don't know how it spreads, but we believe it's not airborne. We need help to— I'm sorry, New Haven, we can't risk our crew. Good luck, the channel went dead. Yuna stared at the screen, feeling the last bit of hope drain away. She wanted to scream, to throw something, to make someone listen, but there was nobody left to listen. Captain Minho found her an hour later, still sitting at her station. He was an old cargo hauler, one of the first settlers on New Haven. His ship was small and slow, but it was all they had. He had been trying to run supply missions to nearby stations, but most places wouldn't let him dock once they heard he was from New Haven. "Any luck?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. Yuna shook her head. "They all say the same thing. Too dangerous. Too risky. Not their problem." Minho put a hand on her shoulder. "Keep trying. Someone will help. They have to." But deep down, he wasn't sure he believed it anymore. In the colony's small school, Yunji tried to keep the children distracted. She taught them math and history, told them stories about Earth and the early days of space travel. Some of the children had parents in the medical center. Some had already lost parents. But Yunji kept teaching because if she stopped, they would have nothing left but fear. A little boy named Jiwoo raised his hand. He was 5 years old with big eyes and a bright smile. His mother was sick, lying in one of the hospital beds, slowly slipping away. "Teacher Yunji, will the aliens come to help us?" Yunji smiled, even though her heart was breaking. "I hope so, Jiwoo, I really hope so." That night, Doyen walked the perimeter of the colony. He had been a soldier once before coming to New Haven to find peace. Now he was the security chief, which mostly meant making sure the panicked colonists didn't do anything stupid. Some people had started talking about stealing ships and trying to escape. Others wanted to raid the medical supplies, hoarding them for their own families. Doyen understood their fear. He felt it too. But fear made people dangerous. He had seen it before on other worlds in other desperate situations. Fear could destroy a community faster than any disease. He looked up at the stars and wondered if anyone out there was listening. Somewhere in that vast darkness, there had to be someone who cared, someone who would help. Far above the planet, a ship emerged from faster-than-light travel. It was a Velkari trading vessel, old and worn with a crew of 8. The captain was named Threx, and he was tired. Tired of debts, tired of struggling, tired of watching his species fade into irrelevance while other races prospered. His communication officer looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal. Human colony, planet below. They're asking for medical assistance," Threx sighed. "Mark it in the log and move on. We're not equipped for rescue missions." But something made him hesitate. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was boredom. Maybe it was something else. He looked at the planet below, small and blue and desperate. "Actually," he said slowly, "let me hear the message." Threx listened to the message 3 times. Each time he heard the same thing. Desperation mixed with dignity. The human woman wasn't begging. She was simply stating facts. 3,000 people needed help. 800 children. Time running out. His first officer, a veteran named Corvin, stood beside him. "Captain, the Galactic Union has that planet under quarantine. If we go down there, we could face criminal charges. Our ship could be impounded. We could lose everything." Threx knew Corvin was right. The Velkari were not a wealthy species anymore. Once they had controlled major trade routes across the galaxy. Now they scraped by, taking whatever cargo jobs they could find. Threx's ship was mortgaged. His crew hadn't been paid in full for 3 months. One mistake could ruin them all. "Set course for the planet," Threx said. Corvin stared at him. "Captain, I know what I'm doing, maybe, probably not. But we're going anyway." The ship descended through the atmosphere and Threx saw New Haven for the first time. It was smaller than he expected. Just a cluster of buildings surrounded by farmland. Lights flickered in the windows. Some sections were completely dark. The colony was dying. When Yuna received the landing request, she almost didn't believe it. She ran to get Hana and Jinho. Together, they rushed to the landing pad to meet the ship. The Velkari crew emerged slowly, cautiously. They wore breathing masks, unsure if the disease could be transmitted through air. Threx stepped forward and removed his mask. If he was going to help, he needed to show trust. "I'm Captain Threx of the Bright Path," he said. "Your message said you needed help. I'm not a doctor, but I have a fast ship and a communications array. Maybe that's worth something." Hana wanted to hug him but held back. "Thank you for coming. I'm Dr. Hana. This is my brother Jinho and our representative Yuna. Please come inside. Let me show you what we're facing." Threx and his crew followed them into the medical center. The captain had seen many things in his years of travel, but nothing prepared him for what he saw. Rows of beds filled with dying humans, families sleeping on the floors beside their loved ones, children trying to be brave while their parents wasted away. One small boy approached him. Jiwoo held up a piece of paper with a crude drawing of a spaceship. "Are you here to save my mama?" Threx looked down at the child. then at the woman lying in the nearby bed. She was unconscious, her breathing shallow. He didn't know what to say. He wasn't a hero. He was just a broke merchant captain who had made a stupid decision. I'm going to try, he said finally. In Hana's office, they spread out medical data and research notes. Threx's medical officer, a female Velkari named Sienna, examined the information carefully. She had basic training, but nothing like what was needed for this situation. This disease, Sienna said slowly, it doesn't match anything in our databases. Where did it come from? Jinho pulled up geological surveys on his tablet. We think it's connected to the planet's previous inhabitants. Talon 7 was colonized before, about 200 years ago. That colony failed too, but nobody knew why. When we started examining the soil, we found traces of biological agents. We think they were using some kind of terraforming weapon and it mutated over time. Can you cure it? Yuna asked Sienna desperately. The Velkari medical officer shook her head. Not with what we have on our ship. But this information about the bioweapon origin, that's important. If we could get this to Nexus Prime, to the medical research center there, they might be able to synthesize a cure. Nexus Prime is 4 days away, Threx said, even with our FTL drive at maximum. We don't have 4 days, Hana said quietly. We have 3 weeks before life support fails, but people are dying every day. By the time you get back, most of us will be dead. Silence filled the room. Everyone knew she was right. Soman entered the office, a young scientist who had been working in the colony's small research lab. She looked exhausted but excited. Dr. Hana, I found something. The local plants, the ones that grow near the crash sites of the old colony, they have antibodies in their structure. It's like they evolved to resist the bioweapon. I think I can make a treatment that will slow down the silence. Slow down, not cure. Hana asked, right, but it might buy us time. Maybe a lot of time. Threx stood up quickly. Then here's what we do. You make your treatment and keep people alive. I take Dr. Hana and Jinho to Nexus Prime. We get proper medicine and a real cure. My first officer Corvin stays here with the ship and crew to help with whatever you need. Doyen had been standing in the doorway listening. He stepped forward, his hand on his weapon. Why should we trust you? How do we know you're not going to take them hostage or leave us here to die? Threx met his eyes. You don't know. You have to trust me. Just like I'm trusting you by landing on a quarantined plague world. Trust goes both ways. For a long moment, Doyen and Threx stared at each other. Finally, the security chief nodded. Okay. But if you betray them, if you don't come back, I'll spend the rest of my life hunting you. I don't care how far I have to go. Fair enough? Threx said. That evening, the Velkari crew shared a meal with the colonists. The humans had almost nothing left, but they brought out what they had. Bread, vegetables from their gardens, water from their wells. They insisted on sharing it all. Corvin sat next to Captain Minho and asked about the colony. Minho told him about Earth, about the billions of humans living on dozens of worlds, about the dream of spreading across the galaxy. Why do you do it? Corvin asked. Why risk everything to live on dangerous frontier worlds? Minho smiled. Because it's worth it. Because our ancestors came from Africa and spread across Earth. Then from Earth across the solar system. Then from the solar system across the stars. We keep moving because that's what humans do. We explore, we build, we survive. Yunji brought some of the children to meet the aliens. They were shy at first, but soon they were asking questions. What was the Velkari homeworld like? Did they have families? What was their favorite food? Jiwoo showed Threx his drawing again, the one of the spaceship. I made this for you. To say thank you, Threx took the paper carefully. This is very good. You're a talented artist. When I grow up, I want to be a spaceship captain like you. Threx felt something tighten in his chest. He thought about his own childhood, his own dreams. When had he stopped believing in heroes? When had he become so cynical and tired? Then you should definitely become a captain, Threx said. The galaxy needs good captains. Later that night, Threx stood on the landing pad looking at the stars. Corvin joined him. The crew thinks you've gone crazy, Corvin said. They're probably right. Probably, Threx agreed. But they'll follow you anyway. We've been together too long to abandon you now. Even if this ruins us, I know. That's why I need to make this work. For them. For these people. Corvin was quiet for a moment. You know what I noticed? These humans, they have nothing. Their colony is dying, but they still shared their food with us. They still smiled at us. They still have hope. I noticed that too. My people used to be like that a long time ago. Before we got old and tired and afraid, Threx nodded. He had been thinking the same thing. The Velkari had given up on dreams. They had accepted their decline. But these humans, they were still fighting, still hoping, still believing tomorrow would be better. Captain, Corvin said, I think helping them is the right thing to do, even if it costs us everything. Especially then. The next morning, preparations began. Someone worked day and night to produce her treatment from the local plants. It wasn't perfect, but initial tests showed promise. Patients who received it stopped getting worse. Some even improved slightly. Jinho prepared his research data and helped check Threx's shuttle for the journey. Doyen organized the colonists, making sure everyone understood the plan. Yuna prepared official documents and testimonies to present to the galactic authorities, and Hana said goodbye to her patients, promising them she would return with a cure. Little Jiwoo hugged her and made her promise to bring back Captain Threx too. As the shuttle prepared to launch, the entire colony gathered. 3,000 people stood in silence, watching their last hope lift into the sky. Inside the shuttle, Threx set course for Nexus Prime. Beside him, Hana and Jinho clutched their medical data. They had 4 days to figure out how to save New Haven, 4 days to find a miracle. The stars stretched ahead of them, cold and distant. But somewhere in that darkness was hope. They just had to find it. The shuttle broke through the atmosphere of Talon 7 just before dawn. Threx could see New Haven below, smaller and darker than when they had left. Some sections of the colony had no lights at all. He tried not to think about what that meant. Corvin's voice came through the communication system, rough with exhaustion. Captain, welcome back. Landing pad is clear, but hurry. We've lost 43 people since you left. Hana closed her eyes, calculating. 43 dead out of 1,200 infected. That was better than she had feared, which meant Soman's treatment was working. But every death was still a failure, a life they couldn't save. The shuttle landed hard. Threx didn't bother with gentle approach procedures. Every second mattered now. The door opened before the engines finished powering down, and they ran toward the medical center. The colony had changed. More buildings stood empty. The streets were quiet except for the work crews trying to keep systems running. But when people saw them running with the medical containers, something shifted. Word spread fast. They were back. They had medicine. Someone met them at the medical center entrance. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, which she probably hadn't. You got it. You actually got it? Hana handed her the containment cases. Real cure, synthesized on Nexus Prime. 12-hour treatment cycle. We have enough for everyone. Soman started crying right there in the hallway. Then she pulled herself together and started organizing. They needed to administer doses immediately, starting with the most critical patients. Doyen appeared with a security team. We'll help distribute to the outlying areas. Some families couldn't bring their sick to the center. We'll take the medicine to them. Captain Minho arrived with other volunteers. Within an hour, the entire colony had mobilized. Teams spread across New Haven, carrying precious doses to every infected person. Yunji brought the children to help, having them deliver medicine to neighbors and friends. The first patient treated was Jiwoo's mother. Hana administered the dose herself while the little boy watched with huge, hopeful eyes. The medicine was clear liquid delivered through injection. His mother didn't wake immediately, but her vital signs began stabilizing within minutes. Is she going to be okay? Jiwoo asked. Yes, Hana said, and for the first time in months she believed her own words. She's going to be fine. Word of their return had spread beyond New Haven. Ships began arriving in orbit more than before. Human vessels primarily, but others too. Traders who had heard the story. Explorers who wanted to witness history. Even some Union officials who claimed they were there to monitor the situation. But the Galactic Union had a problem. The quarantine was still officially in effect. They needed to enforce it, to show they maintained control. Enforcement ships jumped into the system with weapons active and demanded all vessels leave immediately. Captain Isul, the smuggler who had brought supplies earlier, responded first. Negative Union control. We're not leaving until we're sure these people are safe. More voices joined. Human captains, independent traders, even a few alien merchants who had been moved by Threx's speech. They refused to leave. The gathering fleet created a protective barrier around New Haven. The Union commander found himself facing an impossible situation. He could attack civilian vessels, which would cause a massive political crisis, or he could back down, which would show weakness. He contacted his superiors for instructions. Meanwhile, in the medical center, the miracle was happening. Patients began waking up. People who had been in comas for weeks opened their eyes and recognized their families. The cure was working faster than anyone had expected. Jinho analyzed the results and realized why. Soman's treatment had slowed the disease, keeping patients stable. Now the cure was finishing the job, repairing the damage. The combination of both treatments was more effective than either alone. By evening, every patient had received their first dose. The medical center was filled with crying families, tears of relief and joy. Yoonji brought the children to sing for those still recovering. Their voices echoed through the halls, a sound of hope that had been missing for too long. Jiwoo found Captain Threx standing outside looking at the stars. The little boy held up a new drawing, this one showing Threx's ship surrounded by hearts and stars. "Thank you for saving my mama," Jiwoo said. "You're my hero." Threx knelt down to the boy's level. He thought about all the reasons he shouldn't have come here. All the practical, logical arguments for why helping New Haven was stupid, and then he looked at this child's face and knew that every risk had been worth it. "You're welcome, little one. But I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who couldn't leave when people needed help." "That's what heroes do," Jiwoo said simply. Up in orbit, the standoff continued. More ships arrived every hour. The unofficial fleet protecting New Haven now numbered over 50 vessels. The Union commander received his orders: stand down. The political cost of confrontation was too high, but they needed to save face somehow. The solution came from an unexpected source. Korath, the researcher from Nexus Prime, had been documenting everything. He submitted a formal report to the Galactic Medical Council showing that the silence was not contagious in the way they had feared. With proper treatment, it posed no threat to galactic health. The Council had no choice but to acknowledge the findings. The quarantine was officially lifted. Union enforcement ships withdrew, though everyone knew it wasn't a withdrawal. It was a retreat. Dr. Hana broadcast a message to all the ships that had gathered. "Thank you. All of you. You came when we needed you most. We won't forget this." "Humanity won't forget," Captain Isul responded, speaking for many of the others. "We're human. You're human. That's all the reason we need. When one of us calls for help, the rest of us answer. That's how it's always been. That's how it'll always be." Over the next 48 hours, every patient completed their treatment cycle. The cure worked on everyone. Not a single person was lost after the medicine arrived. The total death toll from the silence, 116 people. It was tragic, but it could have been so much worse. The colony began to rebuild. With help from the gathered ships, they repaired systems faster than Jinho had thought possible. The reactor was fixed properly this time, with new parts donated by a Velkari engineering company that had heard Threx's story. Solar panels were replaced. The water system was upgraded. Food supplies arrived from multiple sources. Human colonies sent care packages. Independent traders delivered goods at cost or free. Even some alien merchants contributed, not wanting to be seen as less generous than others. Soman and Hana began writing a comprehensive report on the silence, its origins, and its cure. The information would be shared freely with the galactic medical community, ensuring no other colony would suffer the same way. Doyen organized a celebration. 3,000 colonists gathered in the main square. Those who had been sick stood with those who had cared for them. Children played while adults shared food and stories. Threx and his crew were guests of honor. The Velkari had become celebrities, their faces known across the galaxy. Corvin joked that they couldn't walk 10 meters without someone wanting to shake their hands or thank them. Yuna gave a speech, her voice carrying across the square. We were dying. We had almost given up hope. The galaxy had turned its back on us, but one captain decided our lives were worth saving. Captain Threx, you and your crew risked everything for us. You broke laws, spent your money, faced arrest, all to help people you had never met. We can never fully repay that debt. Threx tried to protest, but Yuna held up her hand. However, we can do one thing. From this day forward, you and your crew are friends of New Haven. You will always have a home here. Your names will be taught to our children and their children. 100 years from now, people will still tell the story of the Velkari captain who saved New Haven. The crowd erupted in cheers. Threx felt overwhelmed. He had expected gratitude, but this was something more. This was a promise, a bond that would last generations. Yunji brought the children forward. Each one had made something to give to the Velkari crew. Drawings, small crafts, letters of thanks. Jiwoo presented his drawing to Threx personally, along with a medal made from scrap metal that said, "Best Captain Ever." That night, as the celebration continued, Threx sat with Captain Minho and some of the other humans. They talked about the future, about what would happen next. "The Union won't forget this either," Minho said. "They'll remember that you embarrassed them, that humans stood together against their rules." "I know," Threx said. "I'm not popular with the Union right now, but you're popular with us. And there are billions of us, Captain. Billions of humans across dozens of worlds. They've all heard your story. They all know what you did." Threx didn't fully understand what that meant yet. He would soon. As the twin suns rose over New Haven, painting the sky in colors of orange and gold, the colony began its first day of true peace in months. The medical center reported 0 critical patients. The life support systems were running perfectly. The fields were ready for planting. New Haven would survive. More than survive. It would thrive. And the galaxy was learning an important lesson about humanity. They were loyal. They were grateful. They took care of their own, and they never ever forgot who their friends were. 6 months passed. Threx brought his damaged ship to a repair station at Frontier Hub, a large space station on the edge of human space. He was worried about the cost. The repairs would be expensive, and he still hadn't been paid for his last 3 cargo runs. His crew was loyal but hungry. His ship was falling apart. The Union still had charges pending against him. He was broke, wanted, and exhausted. But at least New Haven was safe. That had to be worth something. The docking controller's voice came through clearly. "Bright Path, please state your registration and purpose." "This is Captain Threx requesting docking for repairs." Wait, did you say Captain Threx? The Captain Threx? From New Haven?" "Yes, that's me." There was a pause, then excitement in the controller's voice. "Sir, you're clear for priority docking. Bay 7, best bay we have. And Captain, docking fees are waived. Friends of Humanity dock free." Threx was confused. Friends of Humanity? You haven't heard? Every human station, colony, and world has declared you and your crew Friends of Humanity. It's an official designation. You have full privileges across all human space. The ship docked in a bay that was clearly meant for expensive vessels, not worn-out cargo haulers. When Threx emerged, a crowd had gathered. Humans mostly, but some aliens too. They clapped when they saw him. Actually clapped. A woman stepped forward wearing the uniform of the station manager. "Captain Threx, I'm Manager Borum. It's an honor to have you here. What do you need?" "Repairs. My ship has damage to the hull, engine problems, life support issues. But I need to know the cost first." "I have limited funds," Borum smiled. "Cost? There's no cost. Repairs for Friends of Humanity are covered." The station owners insist. Actually, they're fighting over who gets to pay for it. I don't understand. "Captain, you saved 3,000 humans. 800 children. You risked everything when nobody else would help. Do you really think we'd charge you for repairs?" Over the next 3 days, Threx watched in amazement as work crews fixed his ship. Not just fixed it, but upgraded it. New hull plating. Enhanced engines. Modern navigation systems. Equipment his budget could never have afforded. "This is too much," he protested to Borum. "This is the minimum we can do. You gave us back 3,000 lives. We're giving you a working ship. Seems like a fair trade." But the surprises didn't end there. When he tried to pay for food at the station's restaurants, they refused his money. When his crew needed new clothes and supplies, merchants wouldn't accept payment. Everywhere they went, humans recognized them and wanted to help. Corvin pulled Threx aside one evening. "Captain, I'm getting messages. Business messages. Lots of them. What kind of business?" "Everyone kind. Human trading companies want to hire us. Colonies need cargo delivered. Corporations are offering exclusive contracts. There's more work here than we could complete in 5 years." Threx reviewed the messages. The offers were genuine and generous. Not charity, but actual business with excellent terms. Premium rates, priority status, guaranteed payment. One message stood out. It was from a human shipping corporation called United Frontier Transport. "Captain Threx, we've heard about your situation with the Galactic Union. We'd like to offer you exclusive trading rights within human space. You would have access to routes and contracts that usually take decades to earn. We value loyalty and courage. Those qualities are rare in the galaxy." The contract terms were incredible. Guaranteed cargo, premium rates, legal protection. Everything he needed to not just survive, but thrive. Why? Threx asked during the video negotiation. Why would you give this to me? The human executive smiled. Because you helped us when we needed it. Humanity remembers always. Word spread across the galaxy about what was happening. The Velkari captain who saved New Haven was becoming wealthy. Very wealthy. His exclusive contracts with human corporations gave him access to profitable routes no other independent trader could touch. Other species noticed. Threx's success was creating opportunities for all Velkari. Human colonies began requesting Velkari trading partners specifically. Human corporations sought Velkari merchants for their reliability and trustworthiness. Qualities demonstrated by Threx. The Velkari High Council, which had disowned Threx 6 months ago, now wanted to meet with him. They gathered in their ancient council chamber on the Velkari homeworld. Threx stood before them, no longer a desperate cargo captain but a successful merchant. The High Chancellor spoke, his voice carrying centuries of pride and recent humiliation. Captain Threx, we were wrong to abandon you. We were afraid of consequences. But you showed us something we had forgotten. Sometimes courage is more valuable than caution. I didn't do it for recognition, Threx said. I did it because it was right, we know. That's why it matters. The humans trust you because you acted without expecting reward. Now they want to do business with us, with all Velkari. Because of your actions. Our economy is recovering for the first time in 50 years. Our youth have hope again. All because you chose to help when you didn't have to. Another council member added, human colonies are requesting Velkari advisors, engineers, teachers. They're offering partnerships in resource extraction, agricultural development, technology exchange. We're becoming relevant again, Captain. Because of you. Threx looked at these leaders, once so proud and now humbled. Then don't waste this opportunity. The humans value loyalty and gratitude. Give them those things honestly, and this relationship will last. Back on New Haven, the colony was thriving. New settlers had arrived, drawn by the story of resilience and community. Jinho had designed a revolutionary faster-than-light drive using principles he'd learned working with Threx's engineers. He offered Threx the first production model. I can't afford this, Threx said, looking at the specifications. The drive would make his ship the fastest cargo hauler in the sector. It's not for sale, Jinho said. It's a gift. For the man who saved my sister and my home. The new drive transformed Threx's business. He could complete cargo runs in half the time of competitors. Combined with his exclusive human contracts, he became one of the most successful independent merchants in the galaxy. But the material rewards were only part of the story. Threx received a message from Earth's government. They wanted to invite him to Earth itself. Few aliens were granted permission to visit humanity's homeworld. It was considered a great honor. Threx and his crew traveled to Earth, and what they saw amazed them. Billions of humans living on a beautiful world of blue oceans and green continents, ancient cities filled with history. Modern metropolises reaching toward the sky, a civilization that was both very old and very young. Dr. Hana met them at the spaceport with Jinho and Yuna. Also present were representatives from the Global Human Council, media from across Earth, and thousands of people who had come just to see the Velkari heroes. They toured Earth for a week. They saw the Grand Canyon, the Amazon rainforest, the Himalayas, the Great Barrier Reef. They visited the Museum of Space Exploration and saw exhibits about human history, from the first satellites to the first colony ships. In every place they went, humans thanked them. Children gave them drawings. Adults shared meals with them. Elderly people told them stories about their own struggles and triumphs. On their last day, they stood in the United Nations building, where human governments had met for centuries. The Secretary General gave a speech. Captain Threx, in our darkest moments, you brought us light. When we were forgotten, you remembered. When we were dying, you gave us life. The people of New Haven are our people. Their children are our children. By saving them, you saved part of all of us. She presented him with a medal, but more importantly, she announced the creation of the Threx Foundation. Funded by human governments and corporations, it would provide medical assistance to any species facing similar crises. The foundation would ensure no one else would have to face what New Haven faced alone. We learned from you, the Secretary General said. You showed us that individuals can change the world, that courage matters, that the right choice is worth any cost. We'll carry that lesson forward. Threx could barely speak. He had expected gratitude, but this was overwhelming. They had turned his simple act of helping into a permanent legacy. That evening, standing at the edge of the Pacific Ocean, watching the sun set over water that had existed for billions of years, Threx spoke with Hana. "I still don't understand," he said. "I did what anyone should do. Why do humans treat it as something special?" Hana smiled. "Because it is special. In a galaxy full of rules and protocols and politics, you chose people over procedure. You risked everything for strangers. That's rare, Threx, rarer than you think. The reward, though, it's too much. I have more money than I know what to do with. My entire species is benefiting from what I did. It feels excessive, is it? You gave us our future. We're giving you yours. That seems fair to me." Months turned into years. Threx's company grew. He bought more ships, hired more crews, expanded into new markets. But he never forgot why he was successful. He made sure to help others the way he had been helped. When new captains struggled, he gave them contracts. When colonies faced problems, he was the first to offer assistance. The message spread across the galaxy. Help humanity once, and you've made friends forever. Some tried to help humans just to gain the economic benefits.